Hello. Sorry. Good evening. Uh, Today we are continuing second share that we are going over the second. I mean, the next Maisa that we're learning is actually the fifth story of Rabbi Nachman's story. It's the story of the son of the king that was made of precious gems. So let's just read what we have until now, and then we'll talk a bit about it. And just 1 second. Here we go. So we said that once there was a king who had no children, and he went to engage with doctors, so this kingdom should not be turned over to strangers. But he did not help him, so he decreed on the Jews to pray for him to have children. We said that this particular part denotes Kadosh Baruch Hu, who has created the world, and the world was created for people who have das, seichel. So the question is, what is das? What is seichel? So he says it's a das tovara. It's a tree of knowledge of good and bad. So the question returns, what is good and what is bad? And the answer is very simple. Anything that brings you closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is good. Anything that drives you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bad. It doesn't matter what it feels like. Ultimately, it matters. It matters what it feels like, just vis-a-vis of whether it drives you away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu or towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if a person has to go through such trials and tribulations which he cannot possibly hold, and sustain and get through. So, because some people are very sensitive to pain or to humiliation or whatever it is that their story might be. So feeling bad for somebody like this is bad. Why? Because it drives him away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But if a person is able to withstand whatever he's going through and realize that whatever he's going through is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it brings him closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then whatever goes over him is good. Like the Gemara tells a story of Rabbi Akiva that was once on his way, and he was riding on a donkey, and he had with him a rooster and a candle. In other words, he had his car, and he had his alarm clock, and he also had a candle. In other words, he had a flashlight. Because in those days, creating fire, or was involved with, I don't know, getting flints, whatever it is. I mean, it was a whole rigmarole of creating fire. So people went along, with lit fire, so they can, they can light up cooking fires or whatever it is that you carry with them. So here's Rebbe Akiva traveling. You know, he has his car. He has his alarm clock. That's the rooster that will call and waking up for chatzos. And he has a flashlight, to show him the way. Be able to. So there he goes. He reaches a town, and in this town, he was a Goyish city, and he goes to a motel, whatever. Now, those going in towns took one look at him, he with a beard and payas. We don't want your kind here. This is what they told him. We don't want you here. Okay, what can you do? So he went out of town and he went to the field and he lay down to sleep. He has to wake up the tzos, the makiva. Suddenly, there is a gale force wind that lashes out his light, his candle. How are you going to learn Torah? How are you going to mitzvah? How are you going to cook? Go on. So, Rabbi Akiva is the author of the famous adage, Kol ma David Rachmana l'tavavid. Everything that Baruch Hu does is l'toiva. It's for the good. Right after that, some kind of mongoose or this kind of animal came and killed his rooster. There goes his alarm clock. And if that's not bad, so Rabbi Akiva says, "Kol ma'adiv d'rachman al talavi." Everything Kadosh Baruch Hu does is for good. And right after that comes a bigger kind of animal. I don't know, it was a lion, whatever it is, mountain lion. I don't know what it is, and killed his donkey. There goes the car. So he has no light. His alarm clock is gone. And his vehicle, hold on just 1 second. Hold on, we just so what is he going to do? Rabbi Akiva says everything Kadosh Baruch Hu does is for the good. In the morning, he finds out that during the night, a band of robbers fell on the town and killed everybody. People in the town, the people in the hotel, motel, whatever. Now Rabbi Akiva understands what a great favor Kadosh Baruch Hu did with him, that the wind lashed out his candle, because had these robbers seen a fire burning, a candle burning, I mean, they'll realize, not just when there's smoke, there's fire, but when there's fire, there's a person. So they will go looking for him. Same thing with the rooster. They would hear the rooster. Rooster is not the kind of animal that roams around in the wild. So, okay, well, there's a rooster. There must be a person. They will look for him. The same thing applies with a donkey. It's just like Donkey, he horse, and there are no wild donkeys, none of those parts. Again, when there's a donkey, there's a person. Where is a person, there's a potential victim. So now he sees that while it looks like he went through 4 instances of misfortune. There's no place to sleep in the hotel, a normal place to sleep. His candle is gone. His rooster is gone. His vehicle is gone. Donkey is dead. All these were tremendous favors because Baruch Hu saved his life. So the question that remains is, why did Rabbi Akiva say that everything that Hashem does, with all these things he did with him, is l'tova, is for the good. It's good. You should have said everything that Hashem does, it could have been worse. If Hashem would not have lashed out the candle, could have been worse. If you would have stayed in town, it could have been worse. If the rooster would have remained alive, could have been worse. If if the donkey would have remained alive, could have been worse. So why he says everything Kadosh Baruch Hu does is l'tova, is for the good. Because Rabbi Akiva was not talking about, listen, what happened is the lesser of 2 evils. No, what happened is with that, with whatever it is that happened to Rabbi Akiva, Kadosh Baruch Hu showed him that he was with him all night long. Seeing that the misfortune, quote unquote, turns out to be a great favor, brings a person closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we said that that's a definition of good. In fact, it is misfortunes that have, avoided misfortune, that show a person the care that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has for him more than anything else. For instance, a person has gone out of his house, is going to Chutz La'aretz, is flying to America. Okay, his wife is getting ready. Now, some wives, mine included, when they say they're getting ready, it, in 5 minutes, it means at least half an hour. If they say half an hour, maybe it's an hour. And what happens is that his wife tells him, you have to leave to the airport. And his wife tells him, I still need 20 minutes. I need to finish some things. The 20 minutes, schleps over and becomes an hour. And the person is sweating bullets. We're cutting close to flight time. We still have to go through security, and we have to show COVID test results and whatever else that we need to show. Finally, the wife is done. And he says, what's taking you so long? We're going to be late. So his wife tells him, don't worry about it. We're not going to be late. You always worry. Okay, they get into the car. They go into the car. They travel to the airport. And there was an accident on the road. probably on the other side, going the other way. But if you know, when you drive by a side of an accident, everybody's rubbernecking, right? Everybody's slowing down to see what happened over there. So it gets closer and closer and closer. There is a traffic jam that is, I don't know, 5 miles long. And the time of the flight is getting closer and closer. And then they already breach the amount of time that they said you have to be in the airport. Minimum 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours before the flight, whatever it is. And they're still not able to get out of the traffic jam. And at the end, they get to the airport so late that they tell them that the gate has closed. That's it. They can't check in. They missed a flight. Not only they missed a flight, it was, one of those tickets that you can cancel. And that means, in other words, his money is gone. Him and his wife, I don't know, $1,200 down the drain. And the guy is going bananas. He's upset with his wife. His wife obviously tells him it's his fault somehow. Should have told to take another thing, should have put Waze. The Waze would have told you there's a different way. They will tell you that there's traffic jam, whatever. So back and forth, whatever. And suddenly they hear that something happened with the flight. There was an accident. Whoa. Suddenly that person realizes that every anguish that he went through along that prevented him from making this flight actually saved his life. This, brings into focus the miracle that the Kadosh Baruch Hu did with him, with every single thing that he told his wife to hurry and she didn't. And when she finally came out, I don't know, the car didn't start. I don't know whether they finally got into a traffic jam. Whatever. All these things were tremendous, tremendous favors that Kadosh Baruch Hu did with him to save his life. That's what Rabbi Akiva is saying. Everything Kadosh Baruch Hu does is l'toiva. Because you hear some kind of, Pakistani airplane disappears on the way to the Philippines. It doesn't awaken in one the kind of a spilus nefesh, this kind of like, whoa, I can't believe what a miracle. Was it I wasn't on the flight? You're not supposed to be on that flight. Did you make any plans to be on that flight? It's only when these problems are closer to home that you realize the miracle that Kadosh Baruch Hu does with you. And Kadosh Baruch Hu did with you. So Kadosh Baruch Hu, the king wants, as we said before, the king wants people, his world to be filled with people that have das, that have seichel. And he decrees on the Jews to pray for him to have children. As we learned this Motzei Shabbos, the Baal Shem Tov went and spoke with this holy Jew who didn't recognize him. And he asked him, how are you? How's your parnasa? Do you have how's your health? Do you have everything? That person was a very big person, was a very, saintly person. And he didn't recognize that the Baal Shem Tov, is a holy Jew, is the Baal Shem Tov. And he just thought that he's a simple Jew. and he got impatient with him. At the end, he just got angry and told him just, to go away. And, with his hand, just, vamos, vavavavum, vayachale, move out of here. So Baal Shem Tov told him, why do you give me Kodesh Baruch Hu as parnasa? So the Sid was very flabbergasted. What? Baal Shem told him, every person's parnasa, this is what are you sitting on? I'm sitting on what are your sustenance? I'm sitting on a profession of a carpenter. I'm sitting on a stipend from my father-in-law and lawyer, whatever. What are you sitting on? It says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, what is this? What is the sustenance of the Kadosh Baruch Hu? V'ata Yoshev Tehilis Yisrael. The Kadosh Baruch Hu's sustenance. He's sitting. His parnasa is Tehilis Yisrael. It's the Shevach of Israel. So, in order for the king to have children, the Jews have to pray for him. As we said, they inquired and they searched for a tzaddik who would pray, in effect, for the king to have children. And they found a hidden tzaddik, and we said that denotes the fact that if the tzaddik's light is hidden in this world, and if you want to see the tzaddik, you have to look for him. And the second thing is, if you look for the tzaddik, you will find him. And it's a perpetual thing. The more you look for the tzaddik, the more you find him. Because the greatness of the tzaddik is endless. The more you search, the more you find. So that tzaddik replied, he doesn't know anything. We explained in great sophistication, as it were, what does, not knowing anything means. It means it's the highest madrega that there is. And these people, took his words at face value. So they told the king, and he sent for him, he told me, kindly, listen, you know very well the Jews are in my hands to do with them as I wish. Therefore, I ask you nicely to pray that I have children. And the tzaddik promised the king that within a year he would have an offspring. And the tzaddik went home. And this is where we were left off last time. Now the tzaddik went home, and the queen gave birth to a daughter. And this daughter was extremely beautiful. When she was 4 years old, she already knew all the wisdoms and could play musical instruments. And she knew how to speak all the languages. And kings from all countries came to see her. And this was, a great rejoicing for the king. It's the union of a daughter is just 1 second. The union of a daughter is that there is Baruch Hashem already an offspring. Even if a daughter denotes this union of big tzaddikim that are a bechina of bas, of a daughter, of a malchus. And that means that they know all the chokhmas. What kind of chokhmas they know? They know all the chokhmas of Torah. They know all the shas. They know all the poskim. And they're really, all the different, miktzos of Torah. And they know how to sing, to play in all the instruments, which means they know how to sing and to praise the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the fact that she knew all the languages is also the union of the sifting and purifying and elevating the good from the foreign languages of the Goyim. As Rabbeinu says in Torah Tess, now the tzaddikim are able to help a Jew to push away the bad that is intrinsic in him and awaken in him a great cheshek, great urging to kedusha, to be oisik in Torah, in Tefillah, in Avodas Hashem. You know, like the derech of the tzaddikim Avodas Hashem, and this, you know, these tzaddikim are raising, you know, great simcha b'Hashem Yisbarach. So, as we said, let me just go back to the story. Afterwards, the king wanted very much to have a son. I mean, the daughter is wonderful, but afterwards, the king wanted very much to have a son, so that his kingdom would not be transferred to a strange man. So he decreed on the Jews that they should pray for him to have a son. And they were inquiring and searching for the tzaddik that was mentioned above, but they could not find him since he has already passed away. The main nekuda that we're speaking over here is that this is Seder Olam, that first of all, the king had a daughter, and then the king wants to have a son. The Kedusha is revealed little by little. First of all, it's a daughter, as this Gemara says in Baba Basra, Bas Tchilo, Siman Yochel Abonim. When a daughter is born first, it's a Siman Yofa, you know, for boys. It's a Chiddush Niflo. It's a very big Chiddush in the world. There's tremendous Nachas Ruach. There's Miros, Shiros, Tishbachas. That's the daughter. You know, there's Hasidic courts, the yeshivas, tremendous simcha in the Shemaim. The Chaburas Favreichim, you know, all these are an aspect of the daughter. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to have a son, and a son is he wants to have tzaddikim that are totally connected to him. As we said, so that his kingdom will not be transferred to a strange person. Meaning, even though all these nefashos of Israel and the tzaddikim that stem from the aspect of daughter, they are osik b'Torah, they are osik b'tefillah and singing and praising Hashem Yisbarach. Even though the Kadosh Baruch Hu wants more. He wants that the Jewish neshamas will be totally adhered to him, will be one with him. They won't be with him like a stranger, like a strange person. As the Kotzker Rebbe said about Tehillim, Lo yebecha el zel, let not a foreign god, a strange god, be in you. As he said, the Kotzker Rebbe says that the Kotzker Baruch should not be a stranger by you. As God soll nicht sein fremd by you, by dir. Kotzker Baruch shouldn't be a stranger by you. That dveikus in HaKadosh Baruch Hu being one of Kadosh Baruch Hu shouldn't be a strange thing by you. The main thing is to be zocher to true devekus, true adhering to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be one with Hashem. And as we said, that he decreed on the Jews to daven for him again, he should have a son. They were looking for the tzaddik and they couldn't find him because he passed away. It is a tradition in Anashim Breslov to say that there are tzaddikim that the entire that the only way that they can exist in this world and be alive is when they're hidden. Because they're so supernal, they're so special, they're so holy, that they have to be totally concealed. And the minute that they get exposed, they become famous, immediately they have to die. That's why here, when the promise of this tzaddik has come true, and his, the daughter was born, that tzaddik has passed away. And as we will see now, the second tzaddik, they found the second tzaddik. Let's just take a quick look here. And it says, so they continued searching and they found another hidden tzaddik. They told him that he should give the king a son. And he replied that he doesn't know anything, just like the first one. They told the king, and the king said to him as before, you know very well the Jews are in my hands to do as I wish, and so forth and so on. So up to now, it is parallel to what happened before. But the continuation over here is different. And that sage, in other words, this tzaddik, said to the king, can you do what I order? Will you be able to do what I tell you to do? The king said, yes. So the sage told him, I need you to bring all the types of precious stones, because each precious stone possesses a unique quality. And the king possesses a book in which is written all the types of precious stones. This is already a different mahalach. This tzaddik that they found told them that he doesn't know anything at all, just like before. In other words, he's a tzaddik gamar, just the same as the first one was. He doesn't know anything. And he was Meser Nefesh to fulfill the ratzon of the king. And now what he did, he told the king to bring all those precious stones, and then he promised him, as the Ma'aser goes, well, I'll just take a quick look on the story here. Excuse me for switching back and forth like that. He says that the king possesses a book in which is written all the types of precious stones. And the king said, I will spend half of my kingdom in order to have a son. And so the king went and brought to him all the types of precious stones. And the sage took them and pulverized them, and took a cup of wine and poured them, these gems, these pulverized gems, into it. And he gave half the cup to the king to drink, and the other half for the queen. And he told them that they would have a son who would be made completely, will comprise completely of precious stones, of gems. And that child would possess all the qualities of all the precious stones. Then the tzaddik went home. And the queen gave birth to a son, and the king rejoiced greatly. And the son that was born was not made of precious stones. This particular point, as we said before, that the reason why the first tzaddik had to pass away because he made a promise, and his promise came true. Now, this tzaddik was moiser nefesh to do what the king wants from him, and he actually made a son that is comprised of precious gems. And specifically because he was comprised of precious gems, as we will see later, this is how the king's kingdom will not be going to a stranger. And everybody was making fun of him. You know, what do you have to worry about making a son a person that's made out of precious gems? You got nothing else to do. And not only this, after the son was born, they saw that he's not made of precious stones. And everybody laughed at him that he didn't succeed. We'll see later on, not only that he's not made of precious stones, but he became covered with leprosy, that child. So again, they said, you know, they said to the king, you know, there's the tzaddik, told him, says, can you do what I will order you to do? And the king said yes. Now, we have an order of things. The Gemara says, Masechet Brachos, that when a wife and a husband are together, and if the man is the one who seeds first, then a daughter will be born from that. And if the wife seeds first, then a son will be born from that. Because Kodesh Baruch Hu is the man. He is the mashpia. He's the one who bestows. And the man is a bechina of a woman that receives. Now, if the initiative to give birth starts by Kodesh Baruch Hu, in other words, starts from the male, the result is a daughter. In order for the offspring to be a male, the initiative has to come from below, has to come from the person himself. And this is one of the main principles that guide our Avodas Hashem. It's the reason why we fail so often. Why should we fail? What's the big deal about failing? What's the big gedilla? The answer is, it's only when you fail that you have the impetus of starting all over again. Starting anew. If you're riding a bike, you know, and you already have your balance, you don't want to stop. Because if you stop, you may fall. And when you stop your bike, for any reason, everybody who has a bike, who ever had a bike, knows that the beginning of starting again is the hardest part of riding a bike. Once you're able to attain speed, it's just a matter of maintaining the speed. If we were to have a smooth ride, or as long as we have a smooth ride, we're set. What else do we need? Not only that we don't want to start again. If I can't, it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't wake up sleeping dogs. It's only when you hit a bump. Now, what are you going to do? Stay down? You start again. So it is all these things, all these trials and tribulations that we go through that give us the chance of starting again. If you have a thought or a look or a dibur or a maisa, there is really nothing to be proud of. It can be a feeling of here I go again. You know how Ronald Reagan made fun of Jimmy Carter. There you go again. Like, can't believe it. So what can you do? I can start again. Yeah, but I already started again 1,000 times. What am I bringing to the table by starting again? It's the same thing all over again. No, it is not. What it is, it's a new beginning. And new beginning is Isarusa del Tasso. It is awakening from below. It is the beginning of a process that is going to give birth to a son. Not just a son, but a son that is made of precious stones, precious gems. Every single person has a precious nekuda that is unique to him, with which he has to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'ezrat Hashem will talk a little bit more about the difference between serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu from a position of a female, a daughter, and serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu from a position of a male, of a son, vis-a-vis that particular aspect of being made of precious stones, meaning precious gems, and what it means to us in Avodas Hashem. But the important thing that we should take from this particular portion is that any kind of failure, bump in the road, is an opportunity to see the kindness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a much closer way, as we saw in the example of La'aleinu, a person misses the flight and so on and so on. Rebbe Akiva with whatever it is that went through. And the second thing is that when your Avodas Hashem, that you start all over again, when you ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, do me a favor, help me stop these thoughts, or stop these words, stop these looking, or stop these deeds, stop these words. Help me stop it. And in your mind, man, there's no way I'm going to stop it. But you just ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me. It all ties up with, as we said last Thursday in the Likutei Moharan, that the most powerful tool to acquire boldness of Kedusha, holy boldness that will enable to receive Emunah is dafka the sai. So I won't be a movie star after all. Darn all. So I won't be rich and famous. What can I do? I want to conclude with one short story that I just heard from very chashuv, a friend of mine. He's a big expert in medical expert, specifically in catastrophic diseases and stuff like that. He got a phone call from a very famous Jewish billionaire. And I mean, billionaire with a B, more than just 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 billions. A big dude. And so this guy, this billionaire, gave him a call and told him, even though he himself is not a Shemet Torah mitzvah Jew, he is a Jew, but he's not a Shemet Torah mitzvahs. He told him that there is a daughter, there's a girl, I think in Monsey, from a Shabbos family. The Law Lena had Yana Maisa in her brain, and she was on end stage, and the doctor were giving her like 3 months to live. And he asked him to take on this case. So my friend, who was very, very busy, putting together various enterprises, he said that he has no time to take on new patients. He can't. So this billionaire told him, can you see me for an hour tomorrow? Okay. That guy was in England. That billionaire was in England or in America. He has a private plane. This private plane is not a 727. It's not a 737. It's a bigger plane. He took his private plane. He flew to Israel for the meeting, to meet the guy for an hour, and sat with him across the table and says, why can't you take any more patients? So he told him he's busy here, this. The guy says, listen, this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to invest in your companies and take all the other problems off your shoulder, and you take more patients and go ahead and take that girl. And the meeting was over. The guy agreed. Meeting was over, and he flew back. Flew back just for 1 hour. He came, met with him, and flew back. He ended up paying close to $1 million for the treatment of this girl. It was an operation, whatever it is. And they added her another year to her life. She passed away a year later. Forget about the fact that this billionaire did not know the girl or her family. The fact that he was willing, he gave $1 million to treat her. Forget about that. The thing that I actually, was struck by was I understood why this guy is a 20 or $30 billion guy and not a $100 million guy or $1 billion guy, but 20 or 30 or $40 billion guy. He wants to take care of this girl So he says, give me 1 hour. He takes his plane and he travels, I don't know, 7 or 12 hours for a meeting of 1 hour and then flies back. What it comes to tell you that the only reason why this person is as successful as he is, and it's not his success in money that impresses here, because this is applicable to any kind of success, especially spiritual success. It is an iron willpower that will not take no as an answer. They said that Bill Gates said that he has known all types of rich people, geniuses, morons, good guys, bad guys, but there's one type of rich person that he's never met, and that's a lazy rich guy. Flying back and forth for a meeting of 1 hour because he wanted to help somebody, because he wanted to do something. Forget about the fact that the Yiddish and the Shama that he wanted to save a Jewish girl. I'm putting that totally aside for a minute. But the fact that it wasn't an issue for him to fly, I don't know how many hours back and forth for a meeting of 1 hour. Why? Because that's what he wants. And whatever he wants, he goes after. That's the kind of will that we need to develop in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That nothing stands in our way. We don't care. I feel good. I don't feel good. I feel like it. I don't feel like it. There's no such thing. I want it. And you go for it. You know, it's funny they have in all the business publications, 10 habits of very successful people, or 15 habits of very successful people, or 5 habits of very successful people. The truth is, the only difference between you and very successful people is just one thing. That's the fact that they want it a lot more than you do. That's it. To the point that they allow nothing to stand in their way, including themselves. It's not just that they don't allow anybody else to stand in their way. They don't allow even themselves or their own comfort or their own interests to stand in their way, because that's what they want. It's pure willpower. That's what Rabbeinu says. The main thing is to stoke the willpower, because where there's a will, there's a way. B'ezrat Hashem, okay, well, we'll finish B'ezrat Hashem here, and we will meet in Yitz Hashem this coming Thursday in the shir of Likutei Moharan.